Okay, we have a green box, we have a live counter ticking up, so we should now be live, which of course means welcome back to the Storytime Network, where it is, once again, the Paradox Hour podcast. And today we wade into the quagmire that is female characters in Shonen.
Oh God.
Look, we've managed to stay relatively positive in some of our other Shonen discussions. This one is going to be light on the positives.
Yeah.
We will mention them if we find any.
At the end of the day, we can go back as far as, say, I want to say 2015 in the Weekly Shonen Jump backlog, and we start getting real thin pickings.
Yeah.
Yep. In terms of actual quality female characters, you mean?
In terms of series that treat female characters, with some respect.
On that note, I'd like to mention something first before we even start the actual discussion. Probably a sentence we're going to say a lot today is someone can't write women.
Yeah.
And while I understand the sentiment of that statement, I think, and I will personally use that sentence a lot today, but I think it's a very bad statement because basically the remedy to that is, well, how about you just write them as people?
Yeah.
And not as some weird otherworldly thing you don't understand, because that would probably
don't write them
help.
as like. A lot of women in shonen suffer from the sexy lamp problem.
Yeah.
Where they are exactly as useful to the plot as a sexy lamp, sometimes with a post-it note put on it for occasional bits of information.
Well,
Yeah.
Sexy Leia got a blaster at some point.
And
she gets to shoot one guy.
Yeah, and the point is, look, you obviously can't just write them like you would a male character, but wearing a dress. But
I mean, you can. It's just not quite the same thing.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. But at the end of the day, it's not rocket science.
Yeah, they're just people.
Yeah, no. Some authors treat it like it's like rocket science plus brain surgery to the 10th power, and no, that's not how hard it is.
Yeah, it's like women are these weird other thing, and that's a bad stance if you need to write female characters, because then you're not gonna write them like people if you don't actually see them as people.
Yeah,
correct.
Should we start by discussing the definition of shonen we're using today, or should we just jump in?
So I think
go
we're going to go
case?
I think we're just going to go with stuff that was aimed at the shonen demographic, specifically stuff that either is an adaptation or of a shonen manga in the shonen magazine. But if you want to broaden it, we could just discuss all anime that are very clearly aimed at young men and boys aged about 11 to 19.
Yeah, I think it would probably be helpful if we just basically anything we mentioned is shonen, unless we feel like we should discuss if it is shonen. Like, I don't know.
I mean, my what I'd say is, something like Kaguya-sama runs in a shonen magazine, but I wouldn't exactly.
It actually runs in a seinen magazine.
Does it?
Yep.
Kaguya seinen.
Why was it listed under shonen then?
The anime was probably.
No, this wasn't the anime.
Mal is full of dipshits.
Indeed.
This isn't Mal. This is fucking Wikipedia, which is maybe the issue.
That is the issue. Anyone can edit Wikipedia. Literally anyone.
It was a list of shonen magazines. Right, we'll get rid of that one then.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but we must.
I mean, as I said, basically, I think we should just start discussing things, and if something comes up where one or more of us are like, well, this doesn't quite fit, then we'll talk about it then.
So,
let's
start with a couple good examples before we go into bad shit, because there are some shonen manga that do treat their female characters well.
Enlighten me.
They're very rare, but they exist.
Some of them aren't even from this decade.
Yeah. Full Metal Alchemist is one of those.
Why could that be?
Because the author is a woman.
Yes.
Also a good writer.
Yes.
Also that, yeah. I mean,
I've not heard of a single bad thing about anything she's written.
I mean, yeah, we were just talking before that just being a female writer does not mean you will write your female characters well.
definitely not. But it helps, I would say.
It doesn't hurt, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, Full Metal Alchemist has, you know, a litany of good, strongly written female characters at that.
Yeah, none of them are uber powerful badasses either. In fact, and they occupy a variety of roles within the story, and all of them are complex and three-dimensional.
It's like, almost like it isn't that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you run the gamut from childhood friend mechanic Winry all the way to badass General Olivia Mira Armstrong,
Mm-hmm.
who is amazing. But yes, the whole female cast of Fullmetal Alchemist is just a really strong illustration of, hey, you can write female characters in a story aimed at young men and boys by just writing them as good characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only problem with Fullmetal Alchemist is that I still haven't started it because I cannot decide which way to consume it.
Manga. Go with the manga first. That is my recommendation.
Yeah, but that's the most expensive way to go first. But yeah, that's probably what I'll do at some point.
I'd also say that doesn't shy away from certainly having lust as, you know, a very feminine villain.
Plays the femme fatale thing to the hilt, but it's not the only thing she's defined by, and she is pretty clearly a peer to the other villains.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in a lot of other shonen manga, you'd have the one token female villain who's just there to be sexy.
Also to fight the token female character on the hero's team.
Definitely does not happen. Definitely does not happen.
Not in Fullmetal Alchemist, it doesn't.
She nearly killed Mustang.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great fight overall, honestly. But yeah, the female cast of Fullmetal Alchemist is just extremely good. And honestly, like, it's kind of a high bar to set for shonen manga. But I
mean, from what I hear, that seems to
below it.
generally be true of Fullmetal Alchemist, that it just sets a high bar in general.
Yeah, no,
because
it
it's
does.
very good.
It was definitely up there until it got sullied by certain somebody.
Well, if we're not going to blame what's his face for anything with the manga, because the manga, he had nothing to do with the manga.
I know.
Only the anime.
I'm not saying that the series as a whole should be sullied. I'm just saying it's sullied for me.
That is a personal preference thing.
It is. It absolutely is. And I don't particularly want to give that guy's name airtime, so
yeah, that's why I called him what's his face.
So unless you is there anything else? Is there anything specific you want to say about certain characters?
Not really. I do like that they have a female mentor character. That doesn't really pop up a lot in shonen, but Izumi Curtis is a great female mentor character.
Yeah.
Especially since, like, the traditional nurturing motherly type.
Oh, definitely not.
And yet she's still a very loud and proud housewife.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing character.
That's in general, I think that's something that's underappreciated. Like, often in general, that's not even just a manga thing. Often when people feel like, okay, we have to write this female character, or this woman, this girl, whatever, as a good character, they just write them quote unquote male.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the Sarah Connor thing, right? Like they get a gun, they get to be a badass. But it's super rare to see well-written, fully actualized female characters that represent traditionally female attributes. Like that's like a step up in quality for me.
Yeah.
So we can move on to another one. I mean, there are I would say at
There
least
may be like
there are two or
they're
three
like
in the current like
run.
Shonen Jump docket that are doing really good work, but you know, again, they are published 2021, 2022. We should expect that by now.
I mean, should we?
Spy Family is a good one.
Spy Family, yeah.
Absolutely.
Akane Banashi, I've been really enjoying. Has a very strongly written female main character.
Speaking of strong female main characters, you have Emma from Promised Neverland.
Yep. I mean, in general, Promised Neverland was pretty good about that.
Yeah, no, the female cast of Promised Neverland is really good.
I mean, you know, obviously, Promised Neverland had its own set of issues, which we have talked about.
Did it.
Which we have talked about, but you know, I would argue that writing female characters was never one of them.
Absolutely.
I think Dr. Stone is doing pretty well. Like, it's not perfect, but
like the only big issue with Dr. Stone is the way they're drawn. They're written pretty well.
The art style is, definitely.
Yeah, I blame that on Boichi and Boichi's art style.
Yeah, but like the writing is fine so far. Again, it's not perfect. Like nothing.
In Boichi's defense, it's also one of those things where it's equal opportunity drawing horrifically unrealistic proportions and
absolutely,
characters.
Absolutely.
His men don't look that much less fan servicey than the women.
No, that's true.
There is no reason Senku, I do science for a living, Ishigami should be as jacked as he is.
You're not wrong there.
And yet I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
No, and why wouldn't you? No, as I said, that's definitely an art style thing, which should be separated from the writing because, like, often people just start their manga and then they're more or less locked into an art style, and that's how it looks. And that's just
that's how it is with One Piece. We're not going to go too deep into that yet, but like, in the case
we could
of
go into One Piece because it does have well-written female characters.
no, One Piece basically has. I mean, as is expected of probably the best shonen manga ever written. I'm not even saying that as an exaggeration. I confidently believe it's probably the single best shonen manga ever written.
It is, if not the best, then one of the best.
But One Piece has just the characters that are Oda writes characters. Their gender is usually secondary.
Yeah.
Which is that's how you want to do it.
I mean, from what I know of Oda's process, it could literally be secondary. It could literally have flip a coin.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
it's the character designs where One Piece really suffers. In terms of female characters.
It's not like he's less fan servicey with the dudes.
Yeah, no, that's not inaccurate. It's just he's a lot more samey with the female character designs, which is the issue.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, he's sort of very much between pre-time skip and Pre-time skip and post-time skip, he came up with a way to easily draw female characters' proportions, certainly the proportions that he likes, and he has stuck with it solidly, for better or for worse.
He has had some variety here and there, but it's mostly not been. He hasn't done many attractive female characters in a different mold.
Yeah.
They've all the attractive female characters have been in the same
As
mold.
of 1.0, he has 4 body types for female characters. The standard, which we all know what we're talking about, the Big Mom, literal children, and as of 1.0, he added a 4th, which is wearing a kimono in a classy fashion. That's about all he's got.
I will give Oda props for doing something that none of the other writers on here that we're going to discuss have really done. And that's actually writing trans femme characters who are actually well written.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big thing. He's like, in terms of trans and non-binary representation, he's so much better. But yes, he's written trans femme characters who are actual human beings.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. It's crazy, right?
And it's sad
a shonen
that's
author
weird.
able to do this.
But yeah, he did do that. That's very much to his credit. But yeah, it's just one of those things where, have we talked about modern Shonen Jump yet, or are we still doing the oldies?
We're sticking to positive examples for now.
Okay.
Positive and or positive leaning before we dip into the saucy shit.
That's much more difficult for me. I'm sure you're aware.
Oh yeah, no.
Positivity does not come naturally to me.
Maybe 2 or 3 others I can think of are really positive. Jujutsu Kaisen's fairly good on female characters.
Jujutsu Kaisen is okay, but
it is good by Shonen Jump standards.
Yes, it does have pretty good female characters. They just don't show up as often.
That is the biggest issue, but it's not a consistent issue because sometimes you have whole arcs where female characters are a central part, and other arcs you have it's like a massive sausage fest.
Yeah.
Very inconsistent. Like there was a whole arc fairly recently centered almost entirely on Maki, and that was kick ass.
Yeah, though interestingly enough, Jujutsu Kaisen is probably the only series we're going to talk about where it has much more male service than female fan service.
Oh yeah, no. There's only like one female character in the entire series so far who's like been particularly fan servicey.
God bless Akutami's parents for reading the manga.
No, but like, wait, who are you talking? Are you talking about the one who maybe, huh?
True. The floating lady.
Okay. Oh, right, the one who literally has no clothes on.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes. Her clothes are air. That's literally the only fan servicey character. Every other female character is basically fairly regularly dressed.
It sounds like Metal Gear bullshit.
I thought you were talking about the one who is very likely banging her baby brother.
No. There is that one cover thing, but no. She's normally pretty modestly dressed.
But also probably like has.
You don't need to go into it, Fuzzy. You don't need to repeat yourself. We get
Look,
it.
I'm just saying.
I know you're just saying. Fuzzy,
For people,
come on.
okay, go
come
ahead.
on.
I
Not
stopped.
the topic today.
Anyways.
Eventually.
As for Jujutsu Kaisen, it like I said, fairly good, but very inconsistent with actual page time for female
Have
characters.
you mentioned Hunter x Hunter yet?
No, I haven't.
Hunter? No.
I haven't brought
I was
it
going
up
to talk
yet.
about Black Clover.
Go ahead then, Jack. Talk about Black Clover.
Black Clover is a mixed bag, but yes, go ahead.
Black Clover. So the negatives of Black Clover come down to the fan service that is pretty pervasive. Well, not pervasive, but it happens fairly frequently. There is some man service here and there as well to kind of somewhat balance it out, but there is more than a little male gaze going on in Black Clover. That said, the female characters are consistently pretty damn strongly written.
They are to an extent, but it's also... They're very much satelliting around Asta.
Not
it is basically it's a pseudo harem.
Not all of them.
Situation.
Not all of them, but
No.
the main ones is the issue.
Kind of. Two of the main ones. The other main female characters don't really revolve around Asta all that much.
That's
So other than Noelle and Mimosa, who are you classing as a main female character?
Anyone who's had a major role in one of the major arcs. So not a main character, a major character. Of the major female characters, I'd say there's about 6 or 7. Noelle, Mimosa,
okay. So
Nero.
I will say this. Go ahead.
So I would say the major female characters are Noelle, Mimosa, Nero, Gray, Vanessa, Mario, Leona, and Charlotte are the ones who have the most prominent role in the story.
Okay, Charlotte doesn't revolve around Asta, but she's very much defined by her relationship with Yami.
I was going to bring
It
up
is
that
a
point.
central aspect of her character, yes.
A lot
That
of female
exclusive.
characters in this series, their central arc does revolve around a man.
A lot, yes. Not all of them, but a lot.
Yeah, which is
Mario
not
Leona is
great.
the biggest fan of her.
She's like the exception, but like Cat Lady and Charlotte both revolve around Yami. A depressingly high amount of Charmy's character whenever she's on screen with what's his face rival guy.
You know.
Yes, revolve around what's his face rival guy.
Charmy at least has the excuse of is also just allowed to be wacky and goofy and not conform to standard female body types. And she doesn't revolve
Sometimes.
entirely.
Her power-up
Yeah.
form does.
Yes. But she uses it twice in the manga. She's mostly in her default form, which is not really conforming to that.
But yeah, it's like, and Nero as well. Her entire thing was kind of revolving around her now dead boyfriend.
And his boyfriend.
Yes. No, I know exactly where you're coming from. You're not wrong. Black Clover is a mixed bag, but it does have better female characterization than 90% of shonen.
It does. It actually develops them. I will give it that. It actually works to develop the female characters, which is a low
Noelle
bar.
has a really solid character arc revolving around overcoming her abusive upbringing and just proving herself as her own mage.
Yeah. No, Black Clover definitely develops female characters. It's a low bar, but it passes that bar, which is more than we can say for so many shonen manga.
Yeah, you know what's funny? That actually makes Charmy even more frustrating because she's the Fujiwara of Black Clover, in that she's the only remaining gag character in a cast full of like reasonably well fleshed out characters.
She's not just a gag character, to be fair. She also
She's
does have
mostly
some...
a gag character.
Yes, but she does have some cool actiony moments too.
But yeah, I think the general consensus on Black Clover is could definitely be better, but oh boy, could it be so much worse.
Yep.
That's kind of how I feel about Hunter x Hunter as well.
Why
Yeah.
don't you go ahead and talk about Hunter x Hunter?
So, on the positives, there's a lot of pretty strong female characters in Hunter x Hunter.
Mhm.
On the minus side, all but one of them off the top of my head are villains, explicitly.
Right, it's been a while, so let me go through the character list.
I want to interject with one little factoid. I'm not at all caught up on Hunter x Hunter. I'm 48 episodes into the 2011 series, and I have not met a single recurring female character yet.
Yeah.
God damn.
And that is an issue. Like, I remember, I don't like. It's been forever since I watched it. I'm honestly not caught up, but I remember when a woman showed up 2 episodes in a row, and I think that was like an announcer in one of the tournaments or something. It was the nicest feeling for my ears, just because I got to hear something different. Because I didn't just hear guys shouting at each other. And that's the thing,
Hunter
right?
Is
I
very
think
much
Hunter.
equal parts burly men and little boys.
Yeah. Who are, to be fair, voiced by women usually, but no, but
Yeah,
that's
they
one
use
of,
their boy voice for those characters, not.
yeah, exactly.
So
But
I
that's
think
generally one of
yeah.
the things for me when a show doesn't have a lot of female characters. That's like it just gets boring because like there's only so many ways different guys can sound, and
so I think it should be mentioned that Hunter x Hunter did start in, what was it, 1997?
yeah, I mean it's deep in the shonen. We all do Dragon Ball hole, and we will definitely get to Dragon Ball.
And
We'll have to talk about Dragon Ball.
1998. And I think it's a case of Togashi has gotten a lot better as time has gone on. Not amazing, but certainly better. Because I would also like to point out that, we talked about One Piece as one of the very few, shonen series with just trans female characters in general, let alone well written ones. Add Hunter x Hunter to that list.
Right, I forgot about that.
Because
I've only heard this secondhand. I heard there is a trans female character.
Aluka is canonically trans, yes.
Pretty
And
rad.
though
Please don't
it
discuss
is,
any more about her though, in terms of plot relevance, because like Laura and I are not at that point. I'm very far behind on
she's
Hunter
a
x Hunter.
very late game character.
I mean, I'm far enough behind to not care about spoilers because I'll just forget until if I ever get there anyway. But I just can't contribute anything if we talk about that.
Fair.
But yeah, at least like there's 2 recurring female characters who are ostensibly good guys, and everyone else is basically just a horrible person.
So I know Biscuit. What's the other one?
Aluka.
Oh, okay. I would add Palm in there as well.
She doesn't really show up that much, though.
She showed up in Chimera Ant, which is like a good quarter of the manga.
Yeah, but at the same time, she didn't really have much of a role. Or a character.
I would. Again, the issue is it's been a while since I've reread Hunter x Hunter.
Her character was mostly stereotypical yandere creepy girl.
I think she improved from that, though. Like, her appearances later in the arc definitely showed growth there.
But yeah, it's just like.
And then yeah, we've got like 2 or 3 in the spiders.
They're very strong in the spiders. They're well written.
Mm-hmm.
They also do casually commit genocide, and they forget they did it because it was just
Yeah,
one
they're
in a long
not
list
good
of-
people. They're not good people.
Diversity
Yeah.
win. Your badass female character is also a genocidal lunatic.
They're not even lunatics. They're just sociopaths,
Yeah.
right? They care about
Sorry,
each
I just
other.
wanted to make I just wanted to make the joke, okay?
Yes. Fair enough. Yeah, they care about each other and nothing else, and that's kind of a recurring theme with a lot of the female characters, because there's a good number of female characters in the Chimera among the Chimera ants who are also like that.
Mm. Obviously, because of all the hiatuses, we haven't had much of a chance to hang out with her either. But there's also what's her face, Cheadle. You don't remember who Cheadle is?
Is she the dog girl?
Yes.
Mm.
Okay then.
So again, Hunter x Hunter definitely a mixed bag, but like I do think over time it has improved.
Definitely a plus.
Could be better. Could be much worse.
Again, there's I think there's gonna be like three categories here of actually pretty decent. Could be better, but could be so much worse. And for God's sake,
It's
talk
much
to some
worse.
women.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Claymore.
Mostly.
Claymore's a good one. That's really good.
That's the Claymore. The problem with Claymore is that it's like it's basically just a take on Berserk, and that just has so many awful.
Yeah,
awful
but we're not talking about Berserk. We're talking about Claymore.
Well, yeah, but that's
Berserk
the thing about
isn't shonen.
Look, I would argue that Claymore isn't shonen if you're going by genre as opposed to demographic.
It was published in Jump Shonen Quarterly.
We have, how many times are we going to have this conversation? You can be published in a non-shonen magazine and be shonen, and you can also be published in a shonen magazine and not be shonen. It's a whole thing.
Claymore definitely walks that line between shonen and seinen.
It does. At the same time, though,
All
it is relevant to this discussion because it is a predominantly female cast of well-written characters.
But also horrible things happen to them, so it's like...
I mean, if it's going to be a violent manga and it has mostly female characters, it kind of has to have violent things happen to those characters. It doesn't shy away from the brutality of the setting just because the characters are female, which I would argue would be more sexist if it did.
Yeah, that would be kind of a dick move.
Yeah, saying
yes
like,
and no.
oh, this is a horrible violent thing, and no female characters ever suffers for it.
I mean, I don't remember a lot of Claymore. Like, I haven't completed it, and it's been a while since I checked it out, but I don't think, like, to me, the violence never felt like gratuitous or fan servicey or anything. It was just consequences of what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And to me, that's the bar. Like, if it's like fetishistic, if it's exploitative, then that's a problem. But with Claymore, it didn't really feel like that to me.
Okay.
Just because the violence happens to a female character doesn't necessarily mean it's like sexist or anything. It's if it's a consequence of the character's actions or a consequence of the setting, that is entirely different from like a gratuitous scene of sexual violence that's played for fan service.
So I've just scrolled back up to my thoughts on Claymore because again, it's been 2 years and it's been a long 2 years. So if I recall correctly, I wasn't actually that impressed by the characters.
I really like the writing on the characters personally, but it's been a while for me too.
You said that when I said that as well. So we are technically repeating ourselves. But so again, this is based on what I said just after finishing it. I got invested in Claire, Rocky, and to a certain extent Teresa. And I believe Rocky was a male child.
Rocky was a male, yes.
So that's...
I think he's the only non-Claymore who is a member of the main cast.
Yeah. So, that's 2 out of 3 female characters, and even Teresa was only to a certain extent. The others, never felt that strongly about.
Maybe it's because you read it all in a binge, whereas I read it over the course of a few years. Because I read it as the last arc was coming out.
I don't know. I read a lot of series during that binge, and some of those characters really hit with me. Like
fair.
I read that was when I read Jujutsu Kaisen, Haikyuu, finished or caught up to Doctor Stone.
I think you read One Piece in that stretch, didn't you?
Year earlier.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I ranked it around with Siren, and apparently preferred Siren's characters. So I don't know. Again, I'm not gonna say it's the female characters were badly written, because just because I didn't like the characters doesn't mean they were badly written.
I do feel like the one thing that Claymore has that is 100% in its favor is that it is a action adventure story focused primarily on female characters.
Yeah, and that is something to something to compliment the fact that it is it started in 2001. How many series in Shonen magazines had a majority female cast in 2001?
Written by a man, nonetheless.
Besides harem series, not that many.
Yeah.
The sad thing is that's still true today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is definitely to Claymore's credits.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, any other positive examples you can think of before we move on to mixed and negative stuff?
World Trigger.
Doesn't World Trigger have a predominantly male cast? I could be wrong about this.
It does, but the female characters that are there are well written. I mean, Chica is one of the main cast, and her arc spanned, most of the existing manga. I mean, in terms of,
It has a pretty good arc in general, but it's one of those things where World Trigger is hard because it also suffers from the Hunter x Hunter hiatus problem.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hiatusing going on there, which again, it's not something to blame them on. Didn't the author have very major illness?
Spinal stenosis, yeah. It's a very bad condition.
Yeah, it's not exactly viable to write a weekly series or even a monthly series, honestly, while suffering from such a major illness. So
Ashihara is still struggling, yeah. Ashihara is definitely still struggling with that, yeah. I mean, what I would say is that first, yes, a lot of the actual, agents are male, but there are definitely female agents that stand out. I mean, Konami, fucking
not to be confused with the alleged game company.
Yep. Kitura, Katari, Kako, all of them pretty well written female characters, even if some of them don't show up that often. But I would also say that a lot of the female characters happen to be the operators for the squads, and at no point does the series actually treat them as lesser for taking that role over being an agent. Oh, fucking Nasu. Nasu is terrifying. Like her trick is that she takes the shooter trigger that most people just plan a series of courses for the bullets to go. She comes up with them on the fly every single time.
Eesh.
And incredibly complex ones as well. She is genuinely terrifying. But yeah, I mean, in the current arc, Kathri is getting a lot of attention, which is going really well. So yeah, like again, it's one of those where probably could be better, but for a shonen series, again, low bar. But for a shonen series, it does really good stuff.
That's good. Just realized that a fairly recent series that I hadn't gone too far into, but I've enjoyed so far. Praying at the Funeral.
Mm.
Also, or Fern Beyond Journey's End as it was localized.
Yeah.
Really good one. Also a female-led series. Both of the main characters are women. One of them is an elf, and basically her whole thing is
It's
realizing just
incredibly
how
depressing.
it's very depressing, yes, but like her whole journey has nothing to do with her gender and everything to do with just learning to deal with the fact that she is extremely long-lived and is outliving all of her friends, and she's basically trying to learn to stop and smell the roses, so to speak,
Keep it
and
light.
enjoy the time she has with those friends. Was that Mel?
Keep it light.
Yeah, just just a journey to making peace with the fact that you're going to outlive everyone you love and care about. It's just very lighthearted slice of life sort of thing.
Snow White Notes
Somber
ended
series,
this year.
but still.
Snow White Notes ended this year. Maybe we'll get a second season.
Perhaps. Yeah, Kaiju number 8 was also a recent one that kind of mixed on the female characters, but most of them are decent at the very least.
Hmm.
But I think that's all we have for good examples at this point.
I mean,
No, Ask
Ass Class, yeah. I mean, Yusei Matsui in general does pretty good female characters.
You say that, but he did have that really,
Yeah,
really unpleasant one-shot.
that one was quite yikes. I'm not really sure what was going on there.
I like.
Mm.
I'm like, wait a second. Does that mean this is who he really is, and then he's just been repressing himself the whole time? Because that's kind of yikes.
Yeah, it was really weird because it's so different from pretty much everything else he's written. So
What did he do other than Ass Class and that?
he's doing Elusive Samurai, and he did oh god, what was it called? Neuro Supernatural Detective. Which was apparently quite good. So
That was him, huh?
yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where good, but with a caveat that on the inside he may or may not be super yikes.
Until that comes out on the outside, I'm going to pray to God he's fine.
That's the thing. I'm not here to thought police people. If he writes good shit, then that's good.
Mm.
Yep.
But yeah, Assassination Classroom, female characters suffered to an extent, but so did the male ones. It was a very big class.
Also, there's only one character in that entire series, female character in that entire series, who is just like not great, and that's the sadly the lady teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you mean by not great?
A combination of fetish fuel and also just being an idiot and like less competent than everyone else in the cast, including the children.
You say that, but it is actually shown at several points that when she is allowed to be in her wheelhouse, which is seduction techniques, she is incredibly
which is in
competent.
and of itself kind of problematic. That of course the female assassin has to be the seductress.
I guess, but
most stories with female assassins have that be a thing. That's not really his fault.
I would also argue that the series never shames her for that. Like it is remarkably sex positive about how she went about things. Like again,
That is fair, yeah.
you know, there are criticisms to be made about Irina, like how many times she Frenched Nagisa, which
Yeah,
but
she did French the 12-year-old.
14-year-old, 14.
Look,
It's,
at that
it's
age,
not much
it's
better.
2 years
Look,
does
it's
not make a difference.
look, it's not much better, but it is better. Okay, 14 is not 12.
Is it?
Regardless.
Anyway.
Regardless.
Yeah,
That's
and
about as good as we're.
Well,
that's about.
Elusive Samurai as well
Yeah.
has been doing pretty well. Got a couple of really cool female characters in the Murder Children band.
He is very good at writing murder children. He should probably stick to that
Yeah, no, he's very good.
Yeah.
instead of weird fetish kendo club.
I love the Elusive Warriors. They are just so murderous.
Yeah.
They've
Adorable.
killed so many people.
Also, I know a great transition point for this.
Mm.
JoJo. Part 6 has really good female characters. Like, Jolene is a great kick-ass protagonist, and the female characters around her are also great. The rest of JoJo...
Yeah. Do we want to go down through the parts, or just talking general?
So
Let's
here's
go
the thing about
down.
To be fair, it's JoJo.
Yeah, the thing about JoJo is that the point of that series is that it's a sausage fest. That
Yes.
has incredibly, like, there's some homoerotic overtones.
I mean, it's overtone. I mean, it's also just the entire series is an elaborate joke. Like, it's not like
The entire series is intensely homoerotic, regardless of the gender of the people on screen.
The point is, no one is going to come out of JoJo and be like, this informs my view on men, women, whatever, just because
there are some
like,
people who do, but we don't talk
mean,
about those people.
well, but the point is, JoJo isn't supposed to do that. Like, no one, like, JoJo is, as I said, the whole series is an elaborate joke, so it gets a little more leeway. That also means, by definition, it will probably age a lot faster than many other things we'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Just because
Like,
comedy
almost
usually
30
ages
years
badly.
old at this point, and it's not aged that poorly.
Well, it's still.
I will say part 1 has probably aged the worst. In
I
terms
mean,
of female characters.
I mean, yeah, in terms of female characters, yeah, but I don't know. Part 2 did,
Female characters singular.
yeah. I mean,
Part 2
let's
did
be
have
real.
Lisa, though.
She was a prize for the fight between Jonathan and Dio.
No, she was. Well, the thing is, she existed to illustrate how jealous Dio was of her that she got to bang Jonathan and he didn't. That's what that plot line is. You realize this, right?
Yeah,
The only reason Dio was like-
it was less of a fight between Dio and Jonathan for the girl, and more a fight between Dio and the girl for Jonathan. Just
For
Jonathan.
Yes, I
just,
was gonna
just,
say.
just Jonathan
it
was
a fight, but
the
you're
proxy.
mistaken about who the prize was.
Yeah, Jonathan
Yep.
was just the proxy in that fight.
Yep. But yeah, no. Part 4 is fairly good with its female characters, even if it does have a yandere in it.
Oh, Yandere's.
It's good. It's a pretty decently written yandere though, because she comes around.
Yeah,
She's
no,
like-
she actually develops as a character, which is
She develops
something
the
that most
character
yanderes
and
don't do.
ends up being, ironically, one of the better shonen romances in the market.
Mm.
Which again,
I mean, that's a very
is
low bar.
sad because it yes, it's a low bar, and it's sad because it speaks to the general garbage fire that is shonen romances.
Mm.
Oh, we'll get there.
Oh yes. But yeah, whatchamacallit. Part 4, fairly good, especially the Andre, of course, but also the Ghost
we
Girl
gloss
is
over
a
the
very
series
integral part of the
casually?
series. Was that?
Did we just casually gloss over part 3?
No, we're still talking about part 4. So
Oh, we're going down the list, or
yeah, we're going down the
We're
list for
just
the time
bouncing
being.
around it.
Yeah. We
Okay,
don't
we
have enough
Part
attention.
6 'cause-
We do not have enough attention focus to go in order.
No.
Neither
I
does
do want to
Araki, honestly.
One day we'll make an episode of this that is structured.
Never gonna happen.
But this is not that day.
You're
Nope.
asking a lot of.
Actually, no. Our Harry Potter podcast was relatively structured.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's because like it's very easy to know how to bash.
Yeah. Anyway, part
Anyway,
three.
anyway.
Raimi and Yukako are both pretty well written, as is Josuke's mother. And that's about it for major female characters in
It
part
also,
4.
well, no, you're forgetting the most major female character in part 4, Invisible Baby.
Oh yes, Invisible Baby, that's fun.
Invisible Baby
wait,
is a very
Shinobu. I almost
good
forgot about
female.
Shinobu. Who is very interesting. In that I don't know, she's interesting in her dynamic with both her son and disguised Kira. But part 4 is on the better end of JoJo's in terms of female characterization. Part 5 is probably the worst.
Part 5 is the worst in a lot of respects. Let's be real.
Yeah, we just like a lot of people would prefer to pretend it doesn't exist. Honestly,
Part 5 has a singular major female character, and while Trish is not terribly written, like, she also doesn't really do much. She's more of a plot device than a character.
What about part? What about part 3?
Part 3 doesn't have a lot of female characters in it.
Yeah.
He's got like a couple of enemy stand users who are women, which is not exactly glowing.
Yeah, all the Stark
recommendation.
Crusaders are men. They have a female child who tags along with them for a couple fights,
And who
that's it.
a disturbing number of people creepily ship her with Jotaro for some reason.
Which is weird as fuck. What the hell?
Yeah, there's like apparently a very prevalent fan theory that she's Jolene's mom, and I'm just like, no. Also, canonically, she's not, because we've seen Jolene's mom, and she's just a random lady. But like, why? But yes, there is one excellent female character who facilitates some incredibly homoerotic moments.
Mariah, right?
Yes, she gets credit for that at least.
Part 2 basically just had Lisa and Suzy Q.
Yeah, no,
that's
Lisa by
also
herself was already... Again, considering the time when Part 2 came out, Lisa's existence was somewhat revolutionary.
Oh, yeah, no, Lisa is a huge step forward for Shonen. Because Araki realized, wait, if everyone has supernatural powers, then women aren't at any real significant disadvantage compared to men, as long as they all have supernatural powers. There should be nothing stopping a level playing field there, right?
Yeah, I mean that's
Right?
I mean that's the thing. You do have to take into account, just how old JoJo's is. Like,
Yeah, JoJo's from the 80s.
Part 2 is 87 to 89. Like,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, even
even Golden Wind
that-
is mid to late 90s. So, it's very clear that Araki is another one of those that definitely, learned and grew as a writer as he went on.
it's absolutely he was ahead of his time, without question.
Yeah.
It's upsetting that it's such a big deal, but it is an undeniable fact that Araki was very much a pioneer in that sort of realm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Araki, when he actually puts effort into writing female characters, does a pretty bang up job.
Unfortunately,
He actually tries.
not all authors are like him, as we will now discover. Because we've got about an hour left to spend on shitting on some of the most popular shonen out there.
Wonderful.
Let's start with Naruto because that's always
Oh
my
my
shit on.
god.
So starting with
That's gonna take a fucking hour in itself.
starting with pretty much the worst one,
Yeah, kind of.
certainly in terms of the
Naruto
most
is probably
popular
the
ones.
worst offender.
I want to say one thing real quick. We'll get into this show if we have time after trashing Naruto for a bit. But I think a lot of what we're going to talk about just comes down to it cannot be overappreciated how influential Dragon Ball was, and Dragon Ball has terrible
We need to
female
start with Dragon
characters.
Ball, actually. Yeah, we need to start with
Let me
Dragon
play
Ball.
devil's advocate here real quick because Dragon Ball does have a few good female characters.
Dragon Ball is very
Primarily
frustrating.
Bulma.
I mean, but Bulma is already part of the problem because, like, as a character, she's great. She could have been the main character if that had been what Toriyama wanted to do. But after 2 chapters, he decided, let's take the. But also, like in the first volume alone, basically there isn't a chapter that goes by without her being fan serviced.
Mm.
Yeah, I forgot about that part of
Like
early Dragon Ball.
not at all. Like it happens all the time, and
She
she's
does spend a
16
lot
by
of the
that
series
point. Like,
making.
that's not great. And of course, she generally dies the Dragon Ball death of just not being a fighter and thereby irrelevant. Like they tried their best to make
It's
her
not even that
relevant.
she's not, it's not. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Lord.
they tried their best to keep her relevant by bringing her to Namek in the Namek saga, but like she
Which
does
was
nothing.
probably
there.
the worst
And
mistake in the.
Yeah,
for her in the Cell Saga because Cell Saga she is actually like portrayed as competent in her field.
Yeah.
And, not even competent, exceptional in her field. She built a fucking time machine.
Like in the Cell Saga, that makes sense because the time machine stuff, but also just, well, we have a mad scientist who we go to, our very, very good scientist. That makes sense, like that tracks, but they should not have brought her to Namek. That was always stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was dumb. At the same
but of
time,
course.
Bulma is largely relevant throughout much of the series and also
Yes.
portrayed like separate from just her gender as an intelligent, capable person.
What
Yes,
I,
and
what
that,
I
of
will
course,
say
cannot be said for any of the other women. in Dragon Ball.
post Cell Saga, what does Bulma do?
No.
Well, that's when
Not
she
much.
gets Toriyama.
Yeah.
Because that's when she had a child, and in Dragon Ball, when you're a woman and had a child, you don't matter.
The Boo Saga was bad to a lot of the characters, honestly, not just the characters.
The Boo
'Cause,
Saga
yeah,
has
she-
its own issues, but
Chi-Chi is introduced as a fighter. Then Goku puts a baby in her, and she does nothing for the rest of the series.
because that's actually the best female character in Dragon Ball. The 2 chapters of Chi-Chi where she doesn't suck in the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai.
Yep.
Launch just gets forgotten.
And honestly, that's probably for the best, because if she hadn't been forgotten, she probably would have been ruined. Like all the other
she
women.
probably would have become Tien's baby daddy.
Someone's wife,
Let's be
yeah,
real.
probably. Yeah.
Android 18 again. You know, she's better in that she is still definitely able to fight.
Yeah, I mean, he in a good way
Android
wrote
18
himself
is
into a
say
corner
that.
there because he couldn't make her not strong.
Mm.
You say that, but at the same time, after she had a baby, she did literally nothing until Super.
Yeah, and also
No, she-
basically
no.
not only
She
that.
had her baby over the time skip between Cell and Boo, and then she basically she participated in the tournament and basically
Yeah, but
blackmailed the Mr. Satan into
yeah,
giving her a shit ton
that's
of money.
also not great. Having the woman become the duplicitous cheater is also like, yeah, wonderful.
She's always been portrayed as a bit roguish
Which,
compared.
yeah, I mean, it
Okay.
fits. It definitely fits the character. But
It fits the character, but
also
when you
fits the
when you
trope.
have so few women in your cast, doing any of them like dirty is not a great idea.
Of
And
course,
then Vidal
Vidal basically gets cheat.
Vidal
Mhm.
horrifically gets
Vidal is
cheat.
just 2.0, yes.
Vidal gets horrifically cheat.
Unfortunately.
To a
Um,
T. She could have been a great character. There was potential there when she learned to fly and to fight, and then he did nothing with it.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
else? Who else we got? Does anyone want to talk about how Pan was written in GT?
I would prefer
What
not
are
to
you
talk
talking
about
Like,
GT at all.
What are you talking about? What is this GT of what you speak? I don't
Honestly,
know of anything called GT.
I don't
Are
think
you talking
anything else really
a
matters. Like,
sequel that was written by a dude?
I don't think any of the other women in Dragon Ball really count because they aren't really in it.
Yeah.
Unless you count Super, then maybe Kefla, but even
It's a
no.
bit better than at least like Buu Saga Dragon Ball.
Yeah, but not much. Like it's just honestly, I think by the time Super was made, it just wasn't in the DNA of the show.
Yeah.
Like they hewed to the
Tournament of
original.
Power at least had a good had a good number of women introduced who were
Just to say, I haven't
not
seen the
two-dimensional, but-
last two movies, by the way. Like I don't know if they did anything good.
I don't know
Oh,
about. I
last
don't
two
know.
movies had some really great female characters, especially Chilai and Broly.
Yeah, I see her.
Broly, female character.
Oh yeah, Lady Broly, aka
Yeah, I suppose.
Kale.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're talking about Kale. Okay.
No, Chilai, the character from the Broly movie as well.
Right. Okay. That's what you said. All I heard was Chilai and Broly. I was like, Broly? Did
Yeah, the
did
Broly
something
movie,
change?
which is a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I know. I know where Chilai was from. It's just all I heard was Chilai and Broly, and I thought you were including Broly in the female character list, and it was like,
Oh, no,
okay.
Broly can be
Chilai
whatever.
from the Broly movie.
I mean, Broly is
yeah,
clearly just male Kale.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yes,
Okay.
Correct.
Canonically, actually, funnily enough,
That
yes,
is
because
canonically true,
in
yes.
canon,
Kale came first.
Kale came first.
Yep.
which is very funny to me, but also it's interesting that the best thing to happen in the entirety of Super was the existence of Broly.
Mm-hmm.
They somehow made Broly
Basically,
into the
yeah.
best Dragon Ball character in the past 20 years.
It is buck fucking wild that the man's pulled that off. Anyways, back
yes,
on topic.
But
Yeah,
the point is
the
the
point being,
point
I
is
think
Dragon Ball had very few female characters, and most of the ones that were there were badly written.
and while things we
Either
talk
badly
about,
written
while,
or just lost focus completely.
while characters
There you
we talk about will be markedly different from Dragon Ball because Dragon Ball never really gave a shit about romance, and a lot of the bad female characters we will talk about are either realized or fucked up romantic options. Dragon Ball never really did that, but I think it's just, again, it can't be overappreciated how influential Dragon Ball was, and as such, people just didn't give a fuck if
And with
the main
that,
woman
let's
was
transition
bad.
into Naruto.
Oh my
Oh,
god, Naruto! You
Oh,
fucked
no.
it
We
up
have
so
to
much.
talk about it. We have to.
The thing about Naruto is that by the time you realize how bad it is, it's just frustrating because it could have been genuinely good.
It had so much potential. There were early
Yes.
signs of good female character writing too.
Yes.
Like Tsunade, Hinata, Sakura, and
Yeah,
the Chunin exam.
And especially like they had the issue of the power creep for the guys, and then Sakura became Tsunade's apprentice and was like, yes, this is perfect. This is the perfect thing to use to make her relevant again.
And then it
And
gets fucked up like,
nothing.
right after the sorcery fight.
Fucking
Everything
nothing.
after the sorcery fight.
Seriously, they fucked it up so bad.
Fucking Kishimoto just does not know how to write women.
Again,
Yeah.
the issue
Yeah,
is
that's one of
even
those, like-
He doesn't
even
know how to write
even
in general.
Yeah,
even in the times where you were saying, oh, there was promise. Again, they were all defined around their relationships with the male characters. Sakura was
That's true.
defined by
definitely.
Naruto's interest in her and her interest in Sasuke.
Yeah,
Hinata
definitely.
was
That's-
defined by her interest in Naruto.
And that is one
Mhm.
of the biggest issues I have with her. Like the
Yeah.
thing, like
They had so much to explore with her, like her relationship with her clan and stuff. But no.
Yeah.
Like
It was all about Naruto.
Tsunade is actually one of the most disappointing to me because she could have been, an Olivier Armstrong
she comes
figure,
in with
and
an
then
entire motivation, and they do nothing
Yeah.
with it.
yeah, she could have been this badass female character, and then they pull the whole she's scared of blood,
Mhm.
But,
and so
but
she's
even
useless
that,
in so many
even that
fights.
could have been a thing, but
Yeah.
it's just she's going to be the new Hokage, and we saw the last one fight his ass off, and she sits and complains.
Well, no, she
And
She
then
becomes the
she's
Hokage.
unconscious.
Then the time skip happens without her really doing anything,
Yeah.
and then like not that long into the time skip, she just gets taken out and
Yes, and then
basically
she's just
basically
unconscious.
shelved.
Bodied by pain.
Yeah.
And then she's unconscious for essentially 2 entire episodes of shit, right? God, Naruto is so frustrating.
Yeah, like every single female character with one iota of promise either just is left completely irrelevant or is focused on a man.
What's the
And that is it.
what's
Or
the name?
both.
What's the name of that adult Kunoichi who just got fucking made pregnant and then disappeared?
Oh,
Uncle?
Anko.
Anko, yeah, her.
Yeah, nothing. Like,
Fucking
she
her.
was fucking Orochimaru's apprentice. It was great.
even because her
And they did nothing with her. So frustrating. Like, Naruto is genuinely frustrating. Because, again, by the time you realize that you're not going to get anything out of it, and it's just shit, you're so deep in that you're just frustrated because you wasted so much time. And, I mean, especially Sakura, of course, because she is ostensibly the main character, at least for the first few chapters. And it's just... Honestly, he goes out of his way to do nothing with her.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia Naruto character list, and I just read the first couple of sentences of Tenten's entry, which is Tenten is a member of Team Guy who longs to prove that a female ninja can be just as skilled as a male ninja. Of all the Naruto protagonists, Tenten received the least screen time in the series.
Oh my god!
Tenten
You know,
is,
if I didn't know any better, I think Kishimoto was self-aware about this, but I don't think he is.
yeah, I mean,
doesn't have
honestly,
a self-aware bone in his body.
with
Apparently
Tenten, he might be, because, like, that's honestly funny how she just doesn't appear, but...
Apparently Kishimoto favors her design more than any other female character he created.
Dude,
He doesn't do shit with her, what the fuck?
give her something to do. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like, even what's her face? Desert girl Temari.
Tamari, yeah.
Like,
Again,
Mari at least remains badass throughout the series,
Yeah.
but she doesn't.
but she isn't anyone. She's just there. She doesn't.
the point is, each one of these, big teams has, one female character, but they're the token female character, and they do significantly less than their male counterparts. You
Yeah.
can look
I
at
just
every
love how,
single team.
Of the four main mentors, you got Asuma, who has this tear-jerking death, Kakashi, who is this major character throughout the entire story, guy who gets these badass moments in one of the most awesome fights in the series, and then you get Kurenai, who
Who
just
gets a kid?
gets pregnant and leaves.
She gets cheat sheet.
She gets fucking cheat sheet.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Naruto is genuinely so frustrating in many, many respects, but also specifically in this one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just nothing. Literally nothing.
Yep. Okay, might as well roast the last of the big three while we're at it.
Go ahead for Bleach. I haven't read that one.
So Bleach doesn't have the problem quite as severely as Naruto,
No.
but it still has the issue of
I mean, but
the
Bleach
female
has...
characters. Like, there are some good female characters in Bleach. I will give it that.
I mean, Bleach has
There-
Rukia, and that is worth
Rukia
it.
is a fantastic character, and
Yes.
she actually,
But it also-
gets growth and development.
It has the shonen problem of power creep and how the male characters tend to get power-ups more frequently and intensely than any of the female characters do.
But that's not really a function of them being the male characters. That's just the function of them being the main characters, which is also something that should be questioned.
Well,
but
no, even the male side characters tend to be more powerful on average. Or even
Counterexample, Chad. Chad got power crept so fucking hard. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Fuzzy, but he did.
yeah,
Like,
I'm not
even
saying
more
you
so than
didn't.
Orihime and Rukia, Chad just absolutely got left in the dust.
Save something
I'm
for the
not
roast.
saying-
Save something for the roast.
Fair.
We will be doing a roast.
But no, I think
But yeah,
I think Bleach definitely has a lot of issues with female characters, particularly Orihime, who, well, gets
Yeah.
kidnapped a lot.
No, she only gets kidnapped in one arc, but she is
Yeah,
in
but it's
distress
the
a bit
longest
more.
fucking arc.
It is long as fuck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
That's the bigger issue. That arc is just draggy as fuck, but that's not the
Yeah.
point.
no, but that is an issue for her character because just so much of her screen time is that arc because that's
Yeah.
true for everyone. And in that arc,
Yeah.
she is essentially a token.
Yeah, she is the damsel in distress the entire arc.
Yes.
What other
And
female characters in Bleach?
that's to just to make the comparison again. That's to Rukia's advantage because she also has an arc where she's kind of kidnapped. But after that, when she isn't badass, she just isn't there. But when she is there, she's almost always awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
And that's not great in
I think she
respect of
has
screen
a
time, but
major-
it is pretty good in respect to.
I think she has a fight with a significant antagonist in every arc except Soul Society,
Yeah, I think so too.
which
So,
is
yeah,
pretty good.
So Bleach better than Naruto.
At least on the female character front, yeah.
Yeah,
Really not a high
And-
bar.
absolutely
And
not.
It is the lowest fuck bar,
The
but
lowest
still.
bar imaginable.
And then we
Yeah,
have the third member of the unholy trinity of bad but popular shonen, Fairy Tail.
Oh boy. So Fairy Tail has this weird issue where it has like strong plot relevant female characters, but there is just so much fucking fan service in Fairy Tail is ridiculous.
No, here's the issue, right? Here's one of the biggest issues: is Fairy Tail. The author Machima, he doesn't know how to write, like at all. So his entire thing is that he builds up the villains to be so overpowered that the only way the protagonists defeat them is through the power of friendship.
Asshole.
Nonsense. Yes,
Oh.
an asshole. Straight up.
Yes.
There is literally a character who, from day one, her entire thing is that she's got a suit of armor for everything. That just, and
Yeah.
she has one specific to every single possible bad guy that is never foreshadowed. And what's interesting is that they never say how she got all these suits of armor because it's explicitly that she doesn't make them out of nowhere. She has to like go out and find them. That would have been interesting if she actually went on a journey to go out and find these suits of armor, right?
Even
That would
just
have been
one chapter, a handful of chapters showing her getting one of these suits of armor would have been nice. It's just like exposition, if nothing else.
And therein lies your problem with Fairy Tail as a whole, is that it just suffers from bad writing in general. So basically the characters cannot even do anything, really. Like, they're all
Honestly,
caricatures rather than characters.
Urza's fights in particular have the biggest issue with assholes out of all the major characters in Fairy Tail. Like, of the main cast, Urza's fights end with assholes by far the most often. Like, Natsu is a somewhat distant second place, but and
Well,
also
no,
again, there is the
well,
issue with like
Yeah,
constant
no,
fans.
the thing with Natsu is that his is at least the same thing every time, which is the power of friendship. Like, he gets the power from the power of friendship. The problem with Erza is that she has apparently a specific solution for every single bad guy she fights. That which makes it more egregious because it's not just a generalized power of friendship thing. But anyway, we're not even talking about the assholes. We're talking about the female characters, and the fact of the matter is, other than Erza, there's like no one who's really powerful and or relevant in the entire series.
Kind of. Not necessarily. So
Can you-
there are powerful female characters in the series who do remain relevant, and Lucy and Wendy do get consistently stronger as the series goes on. It's just Lucy is used for fan service like half the time she's on screen.
Lucy's not a
Same with
character.
Urza.
she's just she's a plot device. After a certain point,
I
it's
think
just
you're
like she
being a bit
exists.
harsh here, but
I
can't
will.
totally disagree with you.
Now,
Regardless, the rest.
So
Like my
I've
big issue with female characters in Fairy Tail is not so much the writing of the characters, because all the characters were written at the same level. It's not an issue of female character writing versus male character writing quality. They're all equally bad. No, it's the female characters are used constantly for fan service, whereas there is one token fan service guy. And that's it. All the other males are used for fan service quite a bit less than the female characters.
So, while y'all have been talking about Bleach and Fairy Tail, I have gone through and come up with a list of some ones to discuss. This is certainly goes sort of by magazine and by chronological order. So, up first, Demon Slayer.
Oh boy.
Not terrible, but
Not terrible.
not good either, really. Let's be real.
The issue with Demon Slayer is that the main female character does not speak for 90% of the series.
Yep.
And the other female characters, while fairly good, don't have a lot of page time to compensate for that.
Nope.
yeah.
Kanao is under the listed main characters, and like.
Kanao's not a main character for like 2/3 of the manga at best.
Yeah.
Who?
Kanao, the butterfly girl, is apprentice.
Flower
Yeah,
breathing.
she barely exists until like the final arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She's not even a presence for 2/3 of the series.
Which I think is, bad.
Yes. She's like half the reason she's there is to be a love interest for Tanjiro.
Yeah, because, who else do we got? We got Shinobu. Who...
Shinobu is legitimately a good character.
And then she gets like she does get a bridge dropped on her. She literally gets eaten. It's not.
There's
great.
the other female Hashira.
Mitsuri.
Mitsuri, yep.
Who, again, is
She's
defined by
best
her
female character.
desire for a man to be stronger than her.
And
That's
also by the fact that she eats a lot. That's like her character is she wants to bang Snake Boy and she eats a lot. That's her entire thing.
There's who else? Daki, who is not exactly very well characterized.
Nope. One of the worst characterized demons in the series, along with Gyutaro, to be fair. Neither of them did very well.
Who isn't too bad. Oh, he's a fun one.
She barely shows up.
Again,
though.
the point is she doesn't show up enough.
Yeah, speaking of not showing up much, there's the Sound Hashira's wives.
Again,
oh yeah,
badass female ninja wives, and they barely show up.
Yeah,
they all.
What a fucking
there's
place.
a thing where is it polyamory or is it more misogynistic than that?
It's pretty clearly, at least in this regard to this relationship, polyamorous. But there's also Tayo, who is pretty well characterized, but doesn't show up much. So that's the issue with Demon Slayer. Either they have no real characterization, or they do have good characterization, but they do not show up much.
Again, I mean that's that's also just an issue of Demon Slayer as a whole. It's as much as it's insane to say this about a shonen series, it's too short.
Right. It's like very interesting that of all of the problems Demon Slayer has, a lot of it could be solved by it being a longer runner.
Yeah.
Which is sad, but like it's like it almost feels like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, doesn't it?
I mean, the
There
other
is
way to say
there
it
is a
the pacing
sweet
is
spot.
bad.
There is a sweet spot, but yes, it's a case of the pacing is terrible because it's on an individual
it's both
arc
too
basis.
fast and too slow.
Yeah, on an individual arc basis, it's too slow. It just is. Like the latter half of the series drags like a bitch. But on an
Yeah.
actual series-wide scale, the pacing is so ridiculously fast. So fast.
It could have stood for
Way
another
too
50 to 100 chapters worth of content, like somewhere in the middle there.
Easily could have hit 300 chapters and been a little bit better. But the point is that there's no time for downtime. We don't get to
Yeah, no, that series just fucking zooms.
we do not actually get to hang out with characters. We just see them fight, and as a result, we don't see female characters that often because so few of them are actually fighters on the level that we are dealing with.
Which is sad in and of itself.
Like,
Yeah.
Kanao does gets a fight in the final arc, but it's also twinned with a Nosuke.
With a Nosuke.
Yeah, it's twinned with a Nosuke.
What's funny is that Kanawa ends up having better chemistry with Inosuke than she does with Tanjiro, just on a shipping standpoint. Simply because she
they had,
actually
like-
showed up on screen
Yeah,
with
because Kanao and
Inosuke more.
Tanjiro interacted on the screen or on page, like maybe twice.
Before the final arc.
Like they barely fucking interact.
And
But
it's
yeah.
the same with Aoi and Inosuke, who apparently ended up together. They interacted a grand total of like once on the final arc, like before the epilogue.
Yeah, it's just Demon Slayer is also a frustrating one in that sense. Like it really is. Oh god, My Hero.
I have to discuss one that you don't want to. Yeah,
My
we're gonna have to
Hero.
discuss it, though.
Oh
We
man.
know you love
I
My
really,
Hero,
I don't
but
mind because, as we all know, I tend to be critical of things that I like even more so than things I don't like.
Yeah.
And I like My Hero a lot, but it is an awful series for its female cast.
It is. It
Yeah.
really is.
it
Absolutely.
Oh.
really is.
It makes me
It's
so
like-
sad.
Criminally badly it treats its female cast.
Mm,
So underutilized. So underutilized.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, My Hero is kind of this typical show where you actually want every character to have their arc,
Mm.
or even
Yeah.
like their
And
moment,
they just don't.
and they just don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
So-
no, it's
Which-
always focused
which
around
to
like
be-
the
which
three
to
main
be fair,
boys.
is kind of a problem for all of My Hero because again, yeah, you always come back to the main boys, but
So
but especially with the women.
So My Hero's big issue is that it has this big fucking class, 1A, 20 students. Like in terms of Shonen cast, that's big.
That's too big. I'm gonna
Yeah,
say.
too
Part of the
big.
problem with that is already the gender ratio is skewed with 6 girls out of 20 students.
Yeah,
But I'm just talking in general here. Class A is big
Yeah.
enough that you could spend the entire series focusing on them, and still some of them would probably end up weaker than others. It's the same. It's the
issue
same.
as Ass
Yeah, I was
Some
about to say that.
characters.
It's the same issue as Ass Class, but Ass Class focused almost always focused. Tried to keep the focus on 3E. After 1A gets 2 maybe 3 arcs overall. Otherwise, Horikoshi just introduces new characters to fill out the arcs.
Yeah, he is
Yeah.
kind of addicted to the character design side of things. Like, he really likes designing cool characters, and he's like, but I want the cool characters I designed to show up on screen.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll just, like, always...
Mhm.
He's always,
Like
he has this obsession with making his own sort of Western comic style universe where there's a billion and one hero with cool, unique designs. The problem with that is that he's not an industry that's been around for
100
almost 100
years.
years.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely an issue. Like
So I
I'm
mean,
only following the anime, and I'm completely losing track of characters. Like I genuinely couldn't tell you who is and isn't where right now in the
Yeah.
anime because it's just too many people.
I mean, it's what I would say is it's not even entirely a female character problem. Male
No,
characters are
it's just
thrown
too many
aside as
characters.
well, but it's all the more
I mean,
all the more visible for the female.
There is a bit of compounding issues, I'm gonna say, because yes, broadly speaking, you can say that almost everyone in My Hero is underwritten just because there are so many characters. But it's a compounding issue when you then see how the female characters are written when they are written. Because, like, for many of them, their powers are weirdly female coded.
Yeah, I'm gonna say there's like a lot of the female characters are their powers tend to be more utility or support based, which is just
or they are
There's like a handful of female characters with like either straight offensive or well-rounded abilities, like
but
few
even
pro
those-
heroes and couple others.
But
There's
even
the
those,
Dragon
like
Lady
Mount Lady is fan service fuel, even though she's
Mhm.
technically just a good attacker.
So
And
is so is Midnight as well.
Yeah, like she's the whole thing. But okay, if you want to have that trope in your show, that's fine. Then Midnight is a perfectly fine example of that. But if you compare like Mount Lady and what's his face, Fat Gum, just their function is essentially the same. They are strong attackers who can absorb a lot of damage, but how they are portrayed in the show is very, very different.
yeah, it's
And that's-
very awkward when you like stop and think about it for a minute.
And that's what I mean by compounding issues. Like that's already not great, but it isn't that bad if the rest were fine. But then they are also underwritten because everyone is underwritten, and suddenly all you have of them is like
the exception
that.
at least there is Mirko.
Mirko,
yes, but she's
Yes.
also very heavily fan service coded.
She is, yes.
I mean, she definitely is.
Yeah.
But no,
she's hot,
it's
she's strong, she knows it.
yeah. But no, like that's not bad. If you want to do that, you can do that. It's just as I said, it's compounding
It shouldn't
issues.
be all of your female characters who are like that. Yeah.
The point is, I'm on Wikipedia. I'm looking at the character list, and I'm looking through 1A's girls, in the like bios for them. Sue's last entry is post Camino.
Yeah.
Yaoyorozu's is final exams. Jiro is the culture festival.
Also, just kind of one of those yikes things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The entire
No matter how much Horikoshi tries to justify it, I will never be comfortable with Yaoyorozu's outfit. Just like
Yeah. It's just weird.
So many of the fan fictions I read, one of the first things they do once they get to UO is like, we're changing Yaoyorozu's costume. This is fucking stupid.
Yeah, I'm not even. My problem isn't even like so much the costume as it is the fact that she has like an incredibly busted quirk and is just horrifically underutilized, especially because she is portrayed as smart enough to use it. It is horrifically underutilized, and it's just like, but.
Yeah, I mean, then you have like Ochako, who is essentially like who I'm willing to bet money is going to be Chi-Chi by the end of the series.
Oh god.
Well, the only solace we have regarding her is that she is probably going to be Chi-Chi'd, but at least it's not going to be on screen, and so we can pretend
it's
it
going to
didn't.
be like a last chapter
rather
of
than
the
like
thing.
Yeah, like with Uraraka's case as well. She at least consciously avoids tries to avoid being a love interest, even if it does eventually happen.
Yeah.
It's not that she she tries to avoid being a love interest. It's more that she tries to avoid letting that get in the way of either of their careers, which is a thing.
Admirable,
but it's admirable, but at the same time, it's like,
you shouldn't have to choose one or the other.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to choose
It
one
would
or
be
the other.
great
First of
if-
all,
also, it just would be great if her thing could be about her wanting to support her family and not how she feels or not feels about Deku.
Right,
Like that.
because she started out so good because she had such a uniquely refreshing
Yes,
motivation,
Mhm.
absolutely, 100%.
and
Never
then
gets explored.
yeah, it not a single time after that does it come up simply because, well, that's
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't come up, not for any reason. It just doesn't come up.
There's also just this one factor that I will never quite be able to get over. Just the female villains in the series.
Ugh.
Like, the only one who consistently remains within the story
Is the weird one.
is the Yandere,
Yeah.
Yes.
Toga. Literally every other female villain gets ridden out of the story.
It's the yandere who is constantly naked.
No,
Right,
every other
it's-
female villain has been ridden out of the story.
Yeah. And the one that's still in is the yandere whose power is
Also,
I can make
can
my
we
body essentially.
Mill?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that Mill's a volume reader, so I don't know. What's the latest volume? What's the latest in terms of the volumes?
Izuku has just left UA.
Okay, so he hasn't gone to that one yet.
No.
Wait, is it after the big raid?
After the big raid, yes. It literally ended on Izuku leaving UA. I've
So
seen
you've
nothing after
seen
that.
the major character deaths in the big raid.
Yes. Oh yeah,
Let's
midnight.
not talk about those because there might be some anime only watchers on here.
Yes, but like, can we talk about the fact that of the major character deaths, the only really major one was a female character?
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
that was
that's
bad.
not
That was
ideal.
not okay, like by any stretch of the imagination.
Also, the way she died was not great.
Incredibly bad. Yeah, it's just
It
was,
not
you
only
know,
was it
off
off
screen.
screen,
It was
it
off
was
screen.
completely avoidable.
I don't know why Horikoshi wrote her dying. That it was really dumb.
It was a completely avoidable death. It's as much
It's
as
a
I
waste
dislike
of a
Stevenson
character.
sometimes, it was very much the Prometheus school of running away from things, if you get that reference. Where
Yeah, I
it
just
was a situation where you didn't have to die. There were ways that that character could have just like avoided death, and apparently just chose not to.
I don't know. I just think Horikoshi was looking for a character to kill off, and is like, this character has to be this character. It's like, Horikoshi, you had many better options. Why?
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer to that is as simple as
Didn't know what else to do with her.
So can we move on? Because this is just making me sadder.
Yeah.
Um,
I do have one honorable mention.
yeah.
Just because it's something I'm currently watching. The original Gundam from like 1979 or something.
Oh God.
It's actually like it's not even that bad. Like has 3 women who regularly appear on the good guy side. 2 of them are pretty alright characters, and the third one, who is ostensibly the main girl, as these things are, is named Frau Bow, and she wears a bow, and Frau is German for woman, so that's not good.
it
my
also
God.
does have that whole where the
Also, she does nothing. She does nothing.
there's also that it doesn't the original OG Gundam have that side plot where the protagonist and the antagonist are like fighting over a girl who promptly just gets killed.
At least I haven't gotten it. I'm not super far in.
I'm like 90% sure that it's the one featuring
Yeah.
Amuro and Char, right?
I mean, most of them are the ones featuring Amuro, but yes, the OG does also feature Amuro.
Like the introduction of Amuro and Char.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
they
that
don't-
will be.
Yeah,
Hey,
that
don't
could
spoil lore on the series. I know it's almost
Yeah.
50 years old, but don't spoil lore on the series.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Don't
come
worry.
on.
It's fine. I don't super care about
I know, I'm
spoilers,
just
it's
being an
fine.
asshole on this.
So yeah. So next on my list, Food Wars.
Food Wars is a weird one because, yeah, Food Wars is a weird one.
Okay, there's a lot of fan service, but it's also somewhat equal opportunity. There's also a decent amount of male fan service.
Literally, one of the male characters spends a good chunk of the time walking around wearing nothing but an apron.
And again, I very much appreciate that.
It's just a
yeah.
thirsty series in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very fan servicey. The issue with Food Wars is not the fan service. Well, some might say it is, but it's the fact that a lot of the female characters just get sidelined.
So I'm just gonna say, removing the blue arc from the equation, because that did everybody dirty, especially the female characters. But it did everybody dirty in general.
Blue arc is garbage. Actually, no. The arc before that actually did a pretty good job with Arena, at least.
Oh wow, the author actually wanted to end it after Central.
Oh, so it's Shonen Jump's fault for the garbage arc afterwards. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Well,
Yeah,
he
so
he
this
said
is
he
actually a
had
common
he said he had doubts with how to resolve the relationship between Soma and Erina.
That's why he wasn't really specific about it. Okay, that makes sense.
So here's the thing. I know this is the meme. Toriyama wanted to end it after Cell, and then apparently a Fairy Tale was supposed to end after the third arc, which is crazy to me, but it makes a lot of sense in hindsight. Like maybe it would have gotten a sequel series at some point, but like it was supposed to end like there, and then it got popular, and Mashima was like, well, or the magazine was like, yeah, give us like 4,000 more chapters of this, please.
More like 400, but yeah.
But yeah, the author outright says, the main plots I wanted to deliver were Soma's mental growth, Megumi's achievement of independence, and Erina's development. And I successfully delivered those by the end of their battle with Azami, which, you know, I would agree with. I think that was actually achieved.
Less so for Megami, but yeah, I do agree on that. But yeah, then Blue kind of just spoiled everything.
Blue spoiled everything. Again, Blue was terrible to female characters as well, but it was a general thing. Everyone got fucked by Blue.
Oh, the supporting cast also has a fairly good balance of male and female characters.
Yeah.
It's not like super sausage festy.
Yeah,
either.
and like while female characters do get forgotten, so do the male ones.
Yeah. At least there is a relative amount of female and male characters who stay relevant throughout the series.
Yeah.
Like outside of the main.
Like, I would say the one maybe done dirtiest is Alice.
Even then, I don't think. I don't agree on that. Alice didn't really get done too dirty. I don't feel.
I'm just trying to remember.
I feel like the one who got done dirtiest is probably Ikumi.
Yeah, she did, but to be fair, she was never really, used as anything more than an early antagonist.
Yeah, but she had potential for growth, and it just kind of never happened.
Yeah, I
I feel like we're focusing a bit too hard on Food Wars. I feel like there's a lot more things we have to cover, and we're quite deep in. So
quickly, okay.
Let's talk about Death Note.
I was about to mention Bakuman, and let's just cover them both as a just general.
These authors have no idea how the fuck to portray women.
General focus on Oba, Sugumi Oba, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the perfect example of what I was mentioning earlier. With if you don't write women as people, but as this weird other thing, then you're gonna have a bad time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Death Note has like some of the most misogynistic writing in a series I've ever read.
Yeah, it's kind of terrible.
Death Note is a problematic series in general, so it really should not be surprising that it also has that problem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't help that essentially all the characters are supposed to be terrible, so, like...
I like L. L's fine. And Rev's fine. But the rest of the cast? Yeah, pretty garbage.
And that's the thing, like...
Oh no, Soichiro is also fine. No problems with Soichiro.
Like, whoever if whoever's writing already has bad tendencies and then sets out to write characters who are terrible people, that's just not a good mix, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, this is the whole series just absolutely fails so badly writing female characters because of the main female characters, of the four major female characters in the series, you have Misa, who is uh, blindly in love with light and will do whatever he says.
Has no
Rem,
agency.
who is yeah, Rem, who is basically the only well-written female character in the entire series, and dies like halfway through. What's her face? Like sister, who
Exactly.
is just a satellite character who does very little. And oh wait, no, there's five. Naomi, who gets written out like maybe a fifth of the way into the series. And of course, there is Takada, who is also blindly in love with and loyal to light. So yeah, not great.
I mean, Bakuman is, not much better. We get, like, I want to say three main female characters. You've got Miho, who was main boy's love interest, who, they don't speak to each other for a vast majority of the series. And again, is very much defined by Mashiro chasing her and her being the goal for him.
Which is always incredibly yikes.
Yeah.
When that happens.
You've got Kaya, who is other main boy's girlfriend, and then I think wife, who is who's
always dangerous.
Who's the violent girl, the ones who beat them up for being dumb or perverted or whatever.
But it's a show of love. I can't even say it without eventually just.
And then you've got Aoki, who is the only female manga author in the series, and does she get sexually harassed by Nakai? I think she does.
It's just probably a safe assumption to just assume yes.
And then she gets married off to one of the male characters.
Yeah. It's depressing how unsurprising that is.
The fact is that Nakai is a terrible person in part because of how he treats women, and he is forgiven and gets brought back.
Because of course.
Yeah, just I'm trying to remember. Where's my thoughts on Bakuman? Because
I just love how those artists do it. Just absolutely fucks it all up, right?
I mean, neither of us have watched/read whatchamacallit,
Platinum Ed, and I don't plan to.
Platinum Ed. Yeah, none of us fucking none of us plan to, because I very much doubt they improved.
Everything I've heard about tells me that it is utter hot garbage.
Yeah. I mean, Number did watch all of it for some reason, and she did talk about it during our anime stream. So if you want to hear about Platinum End, go search those out. But trust me, it's not gonna be good.
I didn't even realize Platinum End was by that particular.
Everything I know about Platinum End has made me just side eye that duo and just yeah, no, I don't think I'm touching any more of their stuff ever.
Yeah.
No, I read the majority of Platinum End, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's
apparently the ending of Platinum End is just fucking wild insanity too.
It's more just incredibly depressing,
Mm.
I believe.
Yeah, no, that tracks
That's
from
right.
what I remember of what Number's saying. Moving on, Rurouni Kenshin. Anybody read that or watch that?
I watched a lot of it a few years back.
It's
I
tainted by
honestly
the
don't
author
remember enough. Like, it's
at this
just
point.
kind of. Meh.
It's tainted by the author being a major creep.
Yeah,
yeah.
that too.
Jack, you watched this Tokyo Revengers.
Tokyo Revengers, the big issue is that it's focused entirely on the delinquent scene from like the early mid 2000s. So it's mostly just teenage boys
Mm-hmm.
being idiots and or delinquents. So there is very little in the way of female characters here. There are two of relevance, and they don't really have a lot of screen time, at least in what I've seen of it so far.
Wonderful.
Again, it's mostly just a symptom of what the focus of the series is, but I still don't think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, we'll say certainly I've not been picking out the the sports mangas because it's sort of in a similar boat of.
Yeah, there's the sports series usually have a manager who is a girl, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's
The
like
And they are.
the opposite of the spectrum. We haven't really talked much about the trashy shonen harem stuff because, like, most of them are bad.
Yeah, not even touching that.
It's really not even needed. It's easier to list the exceptions than the rules, and there's like you
there
can
are
count
none.
out one-handed, have fingers left over.
Mm-hmm.
There are exceptions, just
yeah.
only like 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm. Moving on then to Fire Force. And and Soul Eater. We can talk about both of them.
It's one of those things where it's not even that the series itself is a problem. It's that the series itself has a lot of problems, and the female characters just suffer from that. Fire Force is like Fire Force is an example of the duality of man. Because it has one of the single best female characters in recent shonen, and also one of the single worst female characters in recent shonen.
Maki and Tamaki, respectively.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I love how we both called it almost at the same time, Mill.
Yeah,
I mean, there's not a lot.
It's like and like that is I'm trying to remember the term for it, but like. That is shown best in the first season, in like the latter half of it, when they're in the train tunnels.
Yeah.
In one episode, you get Maki bodying an entire squad of those white-robed fucks, just fucking destroying them. And then in the same episode, you got Tamaki not doing jack shit.
Stumble over and land her ass in one dude's face.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
no, Maki wins her fight by being a badass. Tamaki wins her fight because her opponent is an incel.
Yeah. Like it is so frustrating. So frustrating. Because Maki is so
the duality
good.
of female character writing.
Yeah, Maki is so good, and then they just they just fuck it up.
Don't do much with her, which is really irritating.
Also that,
Like,
yes.
there's one, if I recall correctly, there's two female captains.
Correct.
One of them is the Gyaru whose arc later revolves around the dude, around liking a dude. And
Liking
the other
Jinra,
one
yes.
is the healer who
medic.
shows up once.
Yeah.
Yep. Good job, team.
Yep.
Solier is actually, I think, better with female representation in terms of like sheer number of female characters in the main cast who actually do stuff. But at the same time, like, there's also a shit ton of fan service in Soul Eater. No, I don't know. I don't think it's as bad as Fire Force, honestly.
Also, Soul Eater has the issue where technically it has female main characters, but they're weapons. So, it's literally...
The protagonist is a female character.
She's the exception, but like among the main trio of fighters, the there's one among the main cast. There's the main character is female, and the other female characters are literally tools used by men. That's not a good look, people.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not ideal. To be fair, the overall weapon split is fairly even, like throughout the cast overall.
Yeah,
It's
but our
just the
introduction
main
to the
cast.
series is.
Of the 4 main weapon characters, 3 of them are women, which is not great.
Yeah, it's just a mess in general. Like I've always gone on record saying that I vehemently dislike this author and all of their works, for various reasons, and I was proved right by the mess that was the ending of
Fire Force.
Fire Force.
Mm-hmm.
We'll not get into that because that is we've already discussed it on a different stream.
Honestly, I think it's a mess in general is pretty good summation of everything we talked about.
Yeah. So quick fire.
7 Deadly Sins.
I was
we
about
have
to bring
talk
up
about.
7 Deadly Sins. Yes. 7 Deadly Sins was on the list.
It pains me to think about this one.
That's a series where the entire point of most of the female characters revolves around men.
Yes.
I cannot think of a single female character in that series off the top of my head who does not somehow revolve around a man.
Literally every female character in the series has a designated male love interest.
Yep.
It's not even just a love interest thing. Sometimes they just like their life revolves around a man. Like the most egregious one is Merlin. Who, in my opinion, the fact that Merlin got a happy ending is probably the most egregious part of the series for me.
Let's not get into that particular bits. But yeah, no. I'm trying to think, because I can't think of a single female character who doesn't revolve around either a love interest or other male relative.
There's also the weird grooming stuff that happens.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Everything with Elizabeth is just so fucking gross. Just everything with that is just absolutely.
It's like I love the reincarnated lovers trope when they're both reincarnated.
That's kind of a
undying immortal, and the other one is just reincarnating constantly. It's a bit of a power imbalance there.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
There's literally a chapter. There's literally a chapter where Meliodas is holding an infant reincarnated Elizabeth and saying, "This is my woman. Keep your mitts off her."
Always great to hold a
So
baby and
fucking
stay
gross.
on a fucker.
It's so gross on
really
so many levels.
Absolutely awful. Yeah, this 7 Deadly Sins is just why on so many levels. Just why?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
I just like that series had like some really cool characters that is like got gojoed because the author was like, I don't like these characters as much as the weird, creepy perverts.
Yeah.
So
I'm just rip Escanor, rip Bon.
Or Bon, yeah.
Like Bon was started out as one of my favorite characters, and he like had a really solid story. And then, well,
just kind of got.
He did nothing for the rest of the series.
Yeah, he just kind of got sidelined. Because he got power crap.
Ultra warfed.
So, just last few series. Anybody read/watch Magi?
I did.
Yes. Oh my god! Do not get me started on that series. I have an incredible hatred for that series because I started out loving it so much.
Is it to do with female characters? If not, then
Yeah, well, actually, yes. Basically, every major female character in that series either revolved around a man or got shafted.
sort
So yes,
the story of female characters in Shonen, really.
Like 90% of shonen, yeah.
and I just like it had so much potential.
Mhm.
It really did. It just no, I don't like. Ugh. It's just painful to even think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, what other ones do we need to cover before you wrap up?
Anyone read or watch Gintama?
No.
No, but I feel like
tried
that
a few times and I
kind
bounced
of
off real hard.
it kind of gets a pass, but also not because it's a gag series.
Hmm.
I
So
just
it's kind of
haven't
like
been able to get into it. It's just the humor in the series does not vibe with me at all for whatever reason.
it also hasn't aged. It's old and it hasn't aged great.
Hmm.
So that's
I've
another
heard
issue.
people say that the female characters in there are good, but I don't know. I haven't read enough or watched enough to really say.
Yeah.
Also, I'm just annoyed enough by its very incessant fans that I don't want to touch it at this point.
Hmm.
Yeah, Gintama does have an incredibly dedicated fan base in the worst way possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Trigun?
Nope, that's one of the shonen classics, quote unquote, that I haven't really gotten into at all.
I want to watch the anime again at some point. I tried to, but I got distracted by something else and never got around to finishing it.
Oh, we were talking about them before the stream. Rumiko Takahashi's works.
I have not touched any of them besides Urusei Yatsura reboot, so I'll leave this to the people who know about her.
Yeah, I have watched and read a lot of her stuff, and I mean, it basically all has the same issue if you want to. Like, it's always, let's say she found a thing that works for her, basically in Urusei Yatsura, and she's always doing a variation of that.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of goes into the same vein of them essentially being gag series. That you can't be too hard on it, but at the same time, if a series goes on for like 50 volumes and, I don't know, 900 chapters or whatever, you have to make people characters at some point. You can't just write out the same gags. Like, you have to do some actual writing at some point.
Yeah.
And some series get better while others don't. Like, Ranma always stays very, very one note. Not only with the women specifically, like just with everyone, because everyone's underwritten. At the same time, I think Inuyasha did kind of catch a bit of an updraft at some point, and most of the people in Inuyasha are actual characters. But yeah, it's
also, isn't the Inuyasha sequel series just a garbage fire?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
Yashahime is not great,
season, but as far as I've seen, it's not super great.
Both Mila and I dropped it about some point in the middle of the first season.
Yeah, it also retroactively changed the father-daughter relationship to a really creepy one, didn't it?
Yeah, but to steer it back to the topic, it's not bad because it writes women badly. It's just bad. And I think, like, but again, just to end this, like, the thing with Rumiko Takahashi is she found a thing that works for her, and that thing is very flat characters in general. But it's, again, kind of the compounding issues thing. Like, the characters are very flat, and her most famous things are all from the late 80s, early 90s, and carry everything about that with them. And that compounded with everyone being underwritten, and yeah, you can probably guess where this is going. And at that point, most women aren't very well written.
I didn't. Okay. I didn't know Kakegurui was a shonen series.
Yep.
That's wild.
It's technically a shonen. Again, let's not get too into the weeds in that.
I mean,
but
I looked at the list.
Kakegurui is actually pretty good on its female characters because most of the cast is female, and they have interesting dynamics with each other.
Aren't they like constantly ahegawing or something? Or am I thinking of something else?
They have the author does do this weird thing where everyone goes has weird reactions to gambling. Some of them are I guess face adjacent, yes, but not all of them.
Yeah, no, like that. The entire thing of that series is that gambling makes these girls super horny. That's
No, only one in particular who's just like really gambling sexual. But yeah, the female characters have really interesting dynamics with one another. There's a lot of political interplay. Also, at least 2 of the female characters are lesbians, so that's interesting.
Also, doesn't it take place in an all-girls school?
No, it does not. It is mixed gender. It's just most of the major characters are female.
I don't think I know a single male character from that series.
There are 2 of note that I can think of. One of them seems like he was originally intended to be the viewpoint character, but just kind of isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is one of the student council members. Every other character of note is female that I can think of.
Okay, so unless I come across another
Yu
series,
Yu Hakusho.
Yu Yu Hakusho is also a product of its time.
Okay.
That's not an excuse necessarily.
It's not an excuse, but I'm just saying we have talked about
We
series from that
probably
era. It's
said
not
what
much
we would
different.
say about it.
Yeah, it's not that much different from series of its era. It does not change much.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, technically, by rules of publishing demographic, Bloom into You is technically shonen, but I don't think that's particularly relevant to what we're talking to here.
So
really classic.
so the 2 I'm gonna pick out unless as the last 2 unless I find something else. Hitman Reborn. Anybody read that? Or
Nope.
watch that?
I heard it was a garbage fire, but other than that,
Everything
no.
Gid has told me about it has turned me away from ever touching it.
I
Okay.
knew someone who read it, and from their taste, it's probably terrible.
Blue
I
Exorcist.
actually have the exact same story. Yeah.
Yeah, Blue Exorcist.
Nope. How about
Isn't
Twin
that
Star Exorcist, Bill? Why don't you talk about your Twin Star
the-
Exorcist?
Oh
chapter?
God, do I have to? It's a very mixed
don't
bag
know.
again. Like there are some strongly written female characters, but again, too many of them revolve around male characters.
That's the issue. Like every time there's a well-written female character in a shonen, 9 times out of 10, they're either going to be either written out of the story somehow, revolve around a man, or just get very little focus. That's like the pattern with actually well-written female characters outside of like a dozen or so series that we can think of. And it is frustrating as fuck.
Yeah. As I said, the female characters are still well written. Benio is well written and gets a lot to do. Mayura revolves around Rokuro and then Shimon, but gets a really good arc where she becomes a fucking strong fighter. Like just.
Oh, Twin Star Exorcist. I was lost for a second because you cut out. Yeah, Twin Star Exorcist is kind of an interesting example.
Yeah.
Because like it has positive examples of female characters, but the problem with that series is that it actually suffers from a similar problem to a lot of other series in that the characters are a bit underwritten a lot of the time.
Yeah.
There's not enough focus on a lot of characters that could use a bit more focus.
Yeah. Out of the main cast, again, as I said, Benio, Mayura, both well written. But unfortunately, again, both are. Mayura is attached to Rokuro and then Shimon for a while. Rokuro for a while and then Shimon for the rest of the series, and Benio is also sort of defined by her relationship with Rokuro, which, to be fair, is also goes the other way.
Literally, the point of their character is that they're supposed to bang and then make a baby. That's literally the purpose of their entire existence
Mm-hmm.
is to make a super baby.
Yeah, but it again. There is a really really cool arc where Benio is on her own and gets to do her own thing. But if it's another one of those, it's complicated. It could be better, but it could be so much worse. At least the female characters get to do
It's also
stuff.
there's one thing that is particularly frustrating to me that is of no consequence to this discussion, but I just want to mention. They've been married for 4 years and have literally not even held hands.
They fuck off. They've held hands.
You know what I mean when I say they've literally not even. They've done nothing.
Yeah, no, that one's fair.
4 years.
They've kissed and that's about it. There may have been a couple of gropes in there, but that's about it. But
Those were accidental.
I think they've stopped
and
being
then-
accidental after a while.
Yes, and then. Here's another frustrating thing. I stopped reading it after the time skip. Do you know why?
Which time skip?
The second one.
Okay. Why?
You know why?
Why?
Because the first thing that happened after the second time skip was they introduced a female character whose purpose was to be a love rival to Benio. Somehow. It just grossed me out to the point that I dropped the series.
Weren't they a Kegare?
Yes. The evil demon rock star lady.
I can't remember if they've even shown up again. I haven't reread Twin Star for a while, okay? I have not read it reread it for a while.
That monthly release, though.
Yeah, as said, Twin Star is another one of those it could be better, but it could be a whole lot worse. The last one that I was going to pick out was Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yu-Gi-Oh! Has that problem of having very few female characters to begin
Yeah.
with.
I mean,
The
it
problem
basically
is
has-
that the female characters it does have don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty
It's
much
like
a meme.
my-
It's a meme with fucking Anzu, whatever, Taya.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
it's basically my Taya and Joey's sister.
And that priest lady, I think it was Shizu.
Shizu, yeah.
And I mean, none of them do anything. Mai is the most interesting by virtue of having tiny development from enemy to friend, but that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, it's somewhat a product of its time.
Well,
And again, we
partially,
should.
but there are modern Yu-Gi-Oh series, and there is literally no difference.
It's the
every
same
single
thing,
Yu-Gi-Oh
yeah.
series has the
Okay,
same
fair
problem.
enough. Fair enough. I think at that
So, I
point.
mean, I guess at this point, who's even writing Yu-Gi-Oh at this point? And I don't
Yeah.
mean because the guy's dead, but just because.
I
don't
mean,
think-
Takahashi stopped writing it
Yeah, exactly. Like,
certainly consistently after OG Yu-Gi-Oh. I think he
Yeah.
might
So-
have done a little bit with
my
GX.
assumption would be
There's
that
something,
they just took the formula and made more of that.
Yeah.
yeah, there's something we haven't talked about that's going to make everyone mad. Let's talk about the Pokemon anime.
I haven't watched the Pokemon anime in like 25 years.
Or have I?
Ash is the
I
world
don't have
champion.
anything to say about it.
Ash is the world champion. Hooray!
Go for it.
Crash.
I haven't watched Pokemon in probably 25 years,
But-
if not more.
Would you like to know one of the most famous quotes from the creators of Pokemon?
I mean, I'm sure they've said
boy.
some stupid shit.
One of the most famous quotes is that the reason they change out the girl every season is because it gets boring to have the same eye candy for too long.
Oh, great! It's wonderful to call your 10-year-old
No.
eye candy. That's wonderful. That's good.
Yeah,
That's
so
fucked up.
Definitely do that.
that's what
Jesus
the
Christ.
creators of the anime said. So,
And,
That should,
and
tell
that
you-
says it all.
I mean, just
I
That's
no
what you
longer feel bad that the Pokemon anime is ending.
yeah,
Jesus, they are fucking 10 years old. God damn it.
just the fact that they said the words, "Yeah, we change out our female characters every season." Just,
Specifically for eye candy reasons.
yeah, that just makes it worse. It was already bad, and they made it
Really,
worse.
really, really. That's
Wow,
great.
I didn't know. I didn't think they could, but somehow they did, in fact, make it worse.
Yeah. Oh. Why must things be this way?
Well, and with that, I don't think we can reach a lower bar.
Never,
we
never make that assumption.
We could
I
reach a
mean,
lower
my
bar.
friend.
We're not going to. We're not
we
going
could
to.
probably,
but we could.
it's 20 past 1 for me.
Yeah. So that is all for today. Thank you everybody for watching.
We should have started with trash and then ended on a positive note, or is this more realistic to?
This is more realistic.
I mean,
Yeah.
okay. What I'll do is to end it on a positive note. I will say things are getting better.
Definitely.
Yes.
And
Like-
to be
Yeah,
fair,
and
things
we
have
don't have
always
many-
been getting better. It's just there's still much room to get better.
More of a zigzag than a straight upward line is
Yes.
the thing.
That's
But the-
but
but the-
that
but the-
just comes with the territory of how much content there
Yeah.
is.
But the point is, in shonen manga in general, we are seeing an upward trend in the number of well-written female characters who actually have things to do.
It is consistently in a state of 2 steps forward, 1.5 steps back.
But that's still half a step
But-
forward.
It's still half a step forward. Yes, exactly.
That's what I meant by zigzags.
Yeah. We're getting, what is that, 4 or 5 new series in Shonen Jump coming up. Fingers crossed, we'll get some decent female characters from those.
Yep. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood.
But yes, otherwise, thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed. In terms of future stuff, tomorrow will be more D&D. We are in the Yakuza themed underground, which should be fun. Tuesday we should be continuing the effect of masses squared.
Woohoo!
We're still searching.
Squared masses do in fact have effects.
And we're still we're searching for that doctor.
Oh, you're gonna love the Doctor.
Not that doctor. Not the doctor. A doctor.
Hmm.
We should make that
Yes,
clear.
yeah.
Mass
Yes.
Effect couldn't get the rights to a certain other doctor.
Yeah. Thursday, I believe we currently have planned our Phoenix Wright trilogy retrospective.
Yep. We do have that planned.
And then next Saturday, it is our mid-season check-in for the fall 2022 anime season.
Good luck with
Woohoo.
that.
It's a
It's-
stacked ass season.
It's not been a bad season so far.
I haven't watched anime since 2018 or 2019.
2019, because you did FMK with us in 2019.
Okay, yeah, 2019. Like, and it's not to say I've completely tuned out of Japanese media. I've read a lot of manga and light novels in that time.
Yeah.
Mostly, I've read a lot of light novels, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Um,
That can't be good for your mental health.
It isn't. It isn't. There's like positives and negatives to like novel stuff. It's like it's its own sort of genre, honestly. Like the light novel adaptations that the light novels that get adapted tend to be the ones that are closest to anime already. The rest are very different.
Anyway, so with that, again, thank you everybody for watching. Please do give us a follow here on Twitch and on Twitter at storytime_net, as long as Twitter does in fact last. And otherwise, we hope to see you tomorrow for more D&D. Good night.
Bye bye.
Later.